Welcome to the Click podcast. I'm Danny Watson, a mindset and manifestation expert and founder of The Click, a company that helps women overcome their fears and limiting beliefs to create a life and business that they love. Within this podcast, I will help you get clear on what you want, identify the blocks that are holding you back, transform your mindset and raise your vibration so that you can co-create magic with the universe. If you are looking to design a life that truly sets your soul on fire and manifest more success and abundance, then you are in the right place. Hello, ladies. Well, I am incredibly happy and grateful to be here with you all on my first ever podcast episode. This has been something that I've wanted to do for so long, and it's never just felt like the right time. I've always had too many other things going on, and now I finally feel I've got a little bit of space to be able to give my energy to this. And yeah, I'm just so excited to be able to share with you all my knowledge and wisdom and things that I've learned over the past few years from being an entrepreneur, being a coach, being in the personal development space, the things that I've done to really change my life, the mindset shifts that I've made, and how I've really deepened my connection with the universe and used the law of attraction in my favor, which is actually something that I really want to dive into with you guys today for this first ever episode. Now, a few things before we get started. Hello to anybody who is new around here. I know a lot of the people listening this will already be a part of my community, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm Danny Watson. I am a self-love and law of attraction coach, and I'm also founder of The Click. So The Click is my company where we train and certify life coaches, and we help women grow their coaching business online. So let's dive in then to this episode, because I really want to use this episode to take you through my journey over the past few years, and really where this all began for me, which was towards the end of my 20s. And I think a lot of women have this moment where they start getting to the later side of their 20s and they start to question their values, what they're doing with their life, their career path, their relationships. And this is where I found myself. So at the time, I was actually living in London. I was engaged to somebody. I was in a job that I really did not want to be in. It was not my purpose. I knew that wasn't my passion. And I'd also found myself as well in quite a significant amount of debt. Okay, so I'm sure for anybody who has struggled with debts before, that places a huge emotional weight over you. So I had quite a lot of different things going on, and it was the culmination of all of those things that really made me start looking inwards, okay? And it really made me start thinking about my mindset, the attention that I was giving to myself internally, and what I could perhaps start doing to help myself feel better. So the relationship, let's just start with that, because I'm sure I'm not the only person in the world that has been through a relationship which has left you with crushingly low self-worth. And that's exactly what this relationship did for me. It wasn't a relationship that I felt secure in. I always felt quite vulnerable in it. I think a woman's intuition is a really powerful thing. And there was a part of me that just did not trust him. I just knew that something wasn't quite right, and I should have really listened to my intuition, but I didn't. And what transpired was that person I was engaged to wasn't acting as a fiance should be acting, so he wasn't being faithful. And I got to a stage where I couldn't just ignore it. I had my suspicions, but once I had that clarification of what was going on, I knew that that was something that I needed to end. But of course, ending a relationship, even if you know that it isn't serving you, it still hurts, it's still incredibly painful. And leaving that relationship, I had all of these fears, like, what if I don't ever meet anybody else? This wasn't just a boyfriend, this was somebody that I was engaged to. So it was that sort of shame that came with telling other people that the wedding's off. I'm no longer with this person. This is what that person did to me. In that moment, made it all about me. I kept saying that, oh, well, it must have been something that I've done. I kept saying, how could I have been so stupid? But then equally, I was beating myself up because I was saying things like, oh, well, maybe if I wasn't so miserable, because I was really miserable in my job and I was feeling really lost with that. Maybe if I wasn't so miserable in my job and, I'd just been more fun, that this maybe would never have happened. So, I had all of these negative thought patterns about myself, and obviously that doesn't help either when you're already feeling pretty crappy about yourself. So that relationship then, I brought it to an end. I left that relationship, and I think doing that, it started to make me question everything else that was going on in my life as well. And I realized that it wasn't just the relationship that wasn't serving me. I was also not living my fullest potential. I wasn't waking up every day feeling amazing. It felt like I was just coasting through the motions. I didn't have any real direction. I was going to work every day, and I knew that this wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. So just as a bit of background then, I initially started out in the legal world, thinking I was going to become a lawyer and work in the city, and very, very quickly realized that actually I did not really want to be in the corporate world at all. But of course, it gets to that point where you've always kind of had this idea of what you think you will do, that you never really have given yourself the opportunity to consider any alternatives. And then you end up feeling really, really lost. Like, what do I do with my life? And this is the place that I'd find myself in. Really, really lost, really unfulfilled, but not knowing what else to do. And then, of course, with everything that was going on, my way of dealing with all of this pain and inner suffering was through shopping. So that was my way that I was basically numbing myself to avoid dealing with the emotions, the quite painful emotions that I was going through. And people have these ways of numbing themselves. People use different strategies. So mine was shopping like a crazy woman, just spending anything that I could, things that I don't even now remember buying. Other people might choose alcohol. Some people might over-exercise. Some people might just binge watch Netflix. How we numb ourselves out rather than tuning inwards, it's going to look different for all of us. But I was shopping, and of course that meant I started to accumulate a pretty significant amount of debt. And the weight of all of that just got to a point where it was too much to bear. And I was struggling at this point with anxiety, but that anxiety started to shift into full-blown panic attacks where it actually felt like my heart was going to be out of my chest. It almost felt like I was having a heart attack. I couldn't get my breath. And it was at this point I knew I had to help myself. I had to do something. And it was at this point that I started to look for answers in the pages of books. So I found myself just reading all of these books on mindset, on mindfulness, law of attraction. The first book I actually picked up was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which is an amazing, amazing book on mindset and living in the present and power of now. And that really, really helped me. As soon as I started to be able to disconnect from my thoughts, I started to find this sense of inner peace and joy that I really hadn't felt in a long time. So I knew that I was onto something. So I committed to really diving deeper with this just through my own personal work first, reading books, listening to podcasts, and watching YouTube videos. And it got to a point where I started to feel better. Definitely, there was still work that I needed to do, but I started to feel better. And in that place of feeling better, I'd already left my fiance by this stage, but I'd also plucked up the courage to leave my job. And I made a decision to go and work in Switzerland, in the Swiss Alps. I absolutely love the mountains. I love being in the snow. I love skiing. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go and see what happens. I'm just going to trust that this is something that I really, really want to do. And the universe is going to guide me. It's going to support me. and the answers will figure themselves out. And I knew that I just needed to give myself that time to just do something that I loved without thinking too much about the consequences. And so this is what I did. And I had an amazing time in the mountains. Can't say that I found myself at the top of a mountain, but I did have a lot of time to continue to work on myself and just really give myself that space that I needed. And it wasn't actually then until I came back to the UK that I started to kind of really do a little bit more deeper work into how I could help myself in terms of my mindset. And that's when I started working with my first coach and signed up to my first ever coaching program, which is really what introduced me to the coaching world. Before this, I knew the coaching world existed, but I kind of knew it existed more in a corporate capacity rather than in a personal capacity. And so when I really discovered the coaching world, I realized that this was the thing I felt like I'd been searching for my entire life. So here was this world where women were doing this really impactful work, changing the lives of others, really being this huge support and an inspiration and motivation to other women. And not only that, but they were working from their laptops. So, they were creating their own businesses. They gave them this huge amount of freedom. A lot of the women, when I started to do my research, the women that I was seeing online, a lot of them were, living this laptop lifestyle where they were traveling, where they were, really kind of living life in the best possible way. And I thought, wow, that sounds incredible. Now, admittedly, one of my first thoughts was, well, this sounds too good to be true. And what I didn't realize at the time was that was just my belief system. Our belief systems are shaped by what we've experienced and are often limited by what we've experienced. So I'd only ever really seen success in a corporate environment and success looking a certain way. It's, going to work, working for a boss. It looked quite monotonous. It looked quite boring. It looked quite, this sort of hustle hard mentality. And so when I was faced with all of these women that were doing this coaching work online and it felt fun and it felt exciting and it seemed creative and it just felt for me, as I said, a little bit too good to be true, until I started to connect with some of these women and realized that, wow, actually, this is a really amazing path and this is something that I want to do. So that's the moment really then it all started for me in terms of me becoming a coach, building up my coaching business and really making a lot of the changes in my life that I have since made. My company now, The Click, as I said, we train and certify coaches because it has really become my biggest passion and mission to help other women go out there and do this impactful work. Really change the lives of others. I really want to help as many women that already have quite natural healing gifts and qualities that would make a great coach, how to actually then package that up so they've got something really powerful that they can then support their clients with. So I really want to help as many women create their own success story in this incredible industry. So that's really where sort of my attention has shifted over the past few years. And that's really now seeing the women that we work with just get out of their own way for themselves and create this amazing life and business for themselves. But not only that, have this ripple effect where they are then bringing this coaching work into the world and using it to transform the lives of their clients. Together, we are then collectively raising the consciousness of this planet. So yeah, we are up to big things at The Click, and I'm sure as you go through this podcast, you'll understand a little bit more of the work that we are really doing. But let me just give you a bit of an overview then of the key things that I have done to get me from that place where I was lost, overwhelmed, unfulfilled, struggling with anxiety, really lacking self-worth, lots and lots of debts. How did I go from that to becoming the confident, successful, abundant entrepreneur and coach that I am today? Because honestly, if I look at my life now, And I don't say this because I want to brag. I want to share this with you because I want to be an example of what is possible for you when you do the inner work. Now, obviously there's lots of things that I've done. There's action steps that I've taken. But really, the thing that has helped me shift the most has been the work that I've done on my mindset. And this is the process that I want to take you through in this episode. Because this process, it's the process that I've used not only on myself for my own journey, it's the process that I've used with many of my clients, hundreds of my clients. And it's also the process that we now teach in the Click Academy, which is our coach certification program. We teach this exact process to our students so that they can then facilitate this process with their clients. Okay, so it's an incredibly powerful process to really help somebody transform their mindset, raise their vibration, and manifest anything that they want in life with ease and flow. So let's just start then with the first key component of this process, and that is getting clear on what it is that you actually want. Now, you might think this is a really simple step, and you might be thinking, but Danny, I know what I want. Maybe some of you not. Maybe some of you are sat thinking, I've literally not a clue what I want. Maybe you have some idea, but maybe when it comes to your purpose or your business or your career or your relationships, you perhaps are a little bit unsure. I would say come into this first step with zero expectations or zero assumptions, should I say, because quite often we assume we know what we want or we convince ourselves we know what we want. But when you start doing this work, when you start really tuning inwards, you start to realize that a lot of your desires are, or your goals that you've set for yourself, you've been acting by a sense of duty rather than a sense of desire. And there is a very important difference. So duty is, this is what I should do. This is what I ought to be doing. This is where we're perhaps influenced by friends, family, society. When we set our goals based upon what we feel like we should, we are not being true to our authentic selves. But most people are so hardwired and so conditioned to act from this sense of duty that they mistakenly think that that sense of duty is part of their desire as well. But often when you start to really break down what is really motivating you, why you want certain things, often the things that you think that you want when you start to really do this work are actually things that perhaps are not truly aligned with you at all. So duty and desire, knowing the difference between the two, but also knowing the difference between where you are choosing things from a place of fear or choosing things from a place of love. When it comes to getting clear on what you want, are you being driven by fear or are you being led by love? And I'll give you an example here. When I was making a decision to study law, I was convincing myself this is what I really, really want to do. This is going to be my path in life. I'm basically going to become Elle Woods in Legally Blonde. I was kind of convinced that that was what I wanted. And yet now when I look back, I wasn't being led by love. I was being driven by fear. Because what I was being driven by, it was the safety net of a stable and quite well-paid career path. It was that safety net of knowing I was doing something that was predictable. You know, I could see a clear path. I would start the career in my training program, my training contract, and I would gradually work my way up, maybe one day becoming partner. You know, so there was a very linear career path. It was safe because I knew other people that had done it. You know, I could see other people that had thrived within this industry. It was safe because a lot of my family and, you know, my teachers and things had said, yeah, this will be a good path for you. So a lot of what was driving me was not my desire, but it was actually my fears, okay? It felt like the safe option. So my first thing would be to ask yourself, when it comes to the things that you want in life, what is it that's really driving you? Are you being driven by fear, or are you being led by love? And there is a difference. Now, it's really important when we are stating our desires to get as specific as possible. And again, this is something that people don't necessarily do. They create these very vague, general, sweeping statements of what they want. I want to be successful. I want to be rich, without really painting a clear picture of what rich or successful actually means. So I would suggest, if you've not done so yet, getting yourself something like a vision board where you can have this visual representation of your desires so that you can see them very, very vividly. The more specific you are, the easier it's going to be for the universe to actually send you what it is that you want. You want to almost think of this as, let's say you gave your partner a shopping list and you said to him, I'd really love you to go out and to buy me a dress. Now, maybe he's really great at this and he knows exactly what dress to buy you, but maybe not. Maybe he comes back and he gets you a dress, but it's the wrong size, the wrong color, the wrong style. You've got what you asked for, yet it's still completely far removed from what you actually want. Now, the same is true for your desires. You've got to get specific on the details. But not only that, you've got to connect with the feeling as if that desire is already yours. So what's really interesting about the law of attraction is that your thoughts create your reality, but so does your energy, your emotions. So there's no point thinking about that dream house that you want if you're in that energy of, but I don't have it yet. Because lack is going to create more lack. You want to think about your desires and your goals from a place of already having it. So as you start to think about that dream house that you'd love to one day live in, rather than just looking at that picture of it, really step into that image and start to think, how would I feel? How does it feel to be in this house? How does it feel as I open the door? As I walk into the living room? As I walk up to my bedroom every evening? As I pour myself a really amazing bubble bath in this huge bath that I have in my dream bathroom? Like, how does it feel? That's really the thing that you want to be connecting with, not just the visual representation of your desires. Now, I could completely wax lyrical about getting clarity on your desires, but let's move on for now to the next part of the process, which is identifying exactly what it is that is keeping you stuck. So your thoughts, your beliefs, they're going to create your reality. This is one of the basic principles of the law of attraction. Your beliefs shape your reality. And our beliefs, we have both conscious beliefs, so these are things that we are aware of. So maybe you've already recognized some negative beliefs that you've been holding on to right now that are holding you back from whatever it is that you desire. So maybe, you want to start a business, but you keep saying to yourself, but I'm not smart enough, but I don't know enough, but I'm probably going to fail. So what are the things that you are aware of? What are those beliefs? But more importantly, what is going on below the surface? You want to think of your mind as an iceberg. The tip of your iceberg, the bit that it's above the water, that's the bit that you can see. But it's normally only a very, very small percentage of the entire iceberg. And just like the iceberg in Titanic, the dangerous part of the iceberg is the bit that is below the water, because if you don't see it, that bit of the iceberg is going to crash into you and can do a whole load of damage. So this part below the surface, what I'm actually referring to here, is your subconscious mind, the part of your mind that you can't actually see. And within your subconscious, you are going to have all of these beliefs. Some of these beliefs are really helpful, things that we do on autopilot, breathing, for example, getting up in the morning and going to brush your teeth. When you get on a bike, you just, ride the bike. You don't have to think about pushing every pedal. There's certain parts of our subconscious programming that are really, really useful, things that we just do on autopilot. But there's also parts of our subconscious mind that are on autopilot that don't help us. And these are our negative beliefs. Now, because they're below the surface, most people aren't even aware of them. And of course, how do you ever do the work to change your mindset if that part of your mind is hidden? So this is why the next part of the process is weeding out what is actually going on in your subconscious mind, getting below the surface. Basically like lifting, thinking of your mind as the hood of your car, like getting under the hood of your car to see what is actually going on underneath. And this work is so eye-opening. A lot of the work that I've done when either working on my own subconscious mind or working with clients, this is where those big aha moments happen. Because all of a sudden, the patterns of behavior that you've been experiencing in your present life, it all starts to make sense. So when I started to do this work on myself, one area that I really have done a lot of work around is my money story. So I mentioned about my debts, but I've done a lot of work to really change my relationship with money. And what I realized was that a lot of what was keeping me stuck financially and kept me repeating these vicious cycles of behavior with money was really all to do with my subconscious programming about money and about my worth. And on the surface level, if I hadn't have done this work, I would have just kept telling myself, well, I'm just bad with money. I'm, getting into this debt because I just love shopping. London's expensive. I would have kept blaming it on all of these external things. But actually, doing the work made me realize that it was all to do with my subconscious programming. Now, our subconscious programming, what's really interesting is that a lot of our low-lying beliefs come from our childhood. So between the ages of 0 and 7, when our brain operates in a predominantly theta state, we are like sponges. We simply absorb everything that is going on around us. And what that means is we often absorb the beliefs of the people that raise us, our parents, our teachers, society, and their beliefs become our own. And we adopt these beliefs as fact. When these beliefs get reinforced over time through subsequent experiences, we start to adopt these beliefs as fact. And so then these are things that we just believe on autopilot. We don't ever even question them. And so I had a whole host of subconscious limiting beliefs about myself, about making money, about success. And that was keeping me repeating these patterns of behavior. But if I hadn't have identified those subconscious beliefs, I would never have been able to do the work to change those beliefs. And that's the next step. Once you've identified what's going on, both at a conscious and at a subconscious level, the next step is to really start to do the work to transform those beliefs. And this is where it gets exciting, because when you start to let go of the beliefs that are no longer serving you, your life will change for the better. It's almost like you are freeing yourself of the chains that have kept you playing small, that have kept you from living your fullest potential, that have kept you, broke, or, in jobs that you don't love, or in relationships that, you're scared to leave. Once you start to do the work on your beliefs, I promise you that will be the best gift that you ever give to yourself. And there's lots of different tools that you can use, at a very simple level. Things like affirmations can be great, journaling, meditation. But then going deeper, one of the tools that I really love, and it's why we train our students in this inside the Click Academy, is a process called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. So maybe some of you guys listening have heard about this, but yeah, it's a really powerful technique, and there's lots of exercises within NLP that can help shift those negative beliefs, even the ones that are really deeply rooted. So that would be the next step then. And as I said, your beliefs create your reality. So once you start to let go of old beliefs that aren't serving you, you can start to then reprogram your mind with a new set of beliefs that are serving you. So what do you want to believe? If you want to have the things that you want to have, and receive those things in the way that you want to receive them, what must you believe? And that second part is important because we shouldn't just believe that that is possible for us. So let's say it's you're wanting to start a business. You want to believe that success is possible for you. But you also want to believe that you can have success in a certain way. So you don't want to have, £1 million business, but then have to feel really burned out and overwhelmed and sacrifice a lot of your free time. So it's, what do you believe about making money? How do you believe making money can be made? What do you choose to believe? And that's the thing, that's the beauty of beliefs. Our beliefs are a choice. Beliefs, more often than not, are not based upon fact. For something to be fact, it has to be 100% true 100% of the time for 100% of all people. And often we hold up our beliefs as if they were fact, when really they're a belief that we are choosing. And if we choose to adopt a belief, we can also choose to let that belief go. Choose to adopt a new belief that does serve the reality that we want to create. So beliefs create your energy, but so does your energy. Beliefs create your reality rather, but so does your energy. Your energy, we are all vibration. We are all made up of vibration. Everything on this planet is made up of vibration. If we were to look at our hand under a really powerful microscope, whilst it may look solid, it's actually just a collection of teeny tiny vibrating particles. And in between all of those particles is just empty space, empty matter. So we are predominantly vibration. And we are going to magnetize into our lives the things that we are a vibrational match to. So everything vibrates at its own frequency. We can be vibrating at a low frequency, or we can be vibrating at a high frequency. Okay, and so your vibration, and we can normally tell, like when you're feeling low vibe frequencies, it's normally sadness, anxiety, overwhelm, stress, burnout, those negative feelings. That's your low frequency. High vibe, on the other hand, is optimism, joy, positivity, love. So to attract more positive things, we want to be vibrating at that higher frequency. This is why paying attention to your energy is so important. And a lot of people get this wrong because they will give more attention to the action that they need to do. Especially in a business capacity, I see this. They will think, what do I need to do to become a successful business owner? And they will really throw themselves into things like marketing and social media management and, creating a website. They'll focus so much on the doing, forgetting that the majority of your results are going to come from who you are being, your energy. There's absolutely no point in taking lots and lots and lots of action if vibrationally you're at a low frequency. And so this is why when people revert to stress and overwhelm and burnout, it doesn't actually help them achieve their goals. It doesn't actually help them get to their desires. Because maybe they're taking all of the action, but vibrationally, they're not in alignment with their desires. So your vibration then, it's something that you'll want to pay attention to. And there are certain things that you can do to really raise your vibration. One of my favorites is just simply showing up as if what you want is already in your possession. And that's something you can very quickly just do now. Take 10 seconds. Think about a goal, something that you want, and just take a few seconds to think, how would I feel if this was already mine? If this was already my reality? Allow yourself to connect with those feelings and emotions as if what you want is already yours. And then ask yourself, how would I show up today if my desire was already with me? If that was already mine? How would I talk? How would I hold myself? How would I show up in conversations? What decisions would I make? What actions would I take? The more you can start to align yourself with the higher version of you that already has your desires, the more you open yourself up for those desires to become a part of your reality. You cannot manifest what you want from a place of, I don't have this yet. So raising your vibration then, this is something that I want to dive into as we go through this podcast. And, in the episodes, I want to give you more practical tools and things that you can do to raise your vibration, to change your beliefs. For now, I just want to give you the overview. Let's move on to the next step, which is taking inspired action. So I spoke just a few minutes ago about, people focusing too much on the action. This isn't to say that action isn't important though. The most important thing is who you are being, so your beliefs and your energy. But you can't just sit in an empty room and just expect all of the things that you want to just drop into your lap. You have to be taking some sort of action. But here's the thing. It has to be inspired action. It has to be action that keeps you in alignment, that feels good, that keeps your vibration high. There's no point in taking lots and lots of action for it to then undo all of the work that you've just done on your mindset. So inspired action is doing the things that feel really, really good to you. Now, I'm not going to go into this too much, but what I will say is that don't confuse inspired action with comfortable action, because sometimes your inspired action path to getting to where you want to be, it may feel a little bit uncomfortable to begin with. It's not always going to be this, action that's just fun and, it's joyful and, it's just easy for me. A lot of the things that you will do can feel easy and should feel easy, but there are going to be certain times where you will need to get out of your comfort zone. So I'm going to use this podcast to go into this a little bit more. And how do you take that inspired action when it is things that perhaps feel a little bit uncomfortable? How do you keep yourself in alignment when you're doing things that are perhaps scary? Maybe it's you taking a leap of faith into the unknown. Maybe it's doing something you've never done before. Maybe it's doing something that you're really nervous about. How do you keep that as inspired action? Now, the next part of the process is, I would say, it should in effect be the easiest thing to do because it doesn't require you to do anything. But it is actually the hardest thing I find that people struggle with. And that is surrendering, letting go, and just trusting that the universe is there to support you and you are going to get exactly what you are meant to receive at exactly the moment that you are meant to receive it. Okay, so you don't have to do anything here. This is where your part of the deal is done. You now just hand things over to the universe and trust that the universe is going to show up and play its role as well. We have to remember that manifesting is a process of co-creation. You are showing up to do your bit, which is work on your mindset, get clear on what you want, work on your mindset, work on your energy, take that inspired action. That's your part of the process. But then the next bit, the actually delivering of the goal, the how, the when, that's up to the universe. And most people really struggle to let go. They struggle to let go of control. And how I see this play out is when perhaps somebody will start with all good intentions and maybe they're at that stage where they're taking that big, massive inspired action. And then they're waiting. They're waiting for their desires to manifest. And they're waiting and they're waiting. And in that wait, that's when their patience becomes tested. And that's when the doubt starts to creep in. And that's when they start to question whether or not the universe is in fact supporting them. And so to compensate for that, they'll start to work harder. They'll start to do more, be more. They'll start to maybe change their mind on certain things, maybe even give up. Because what they want isn't present yet. They're looking at their desires still from this place of lack. So the how and the when your desires are going to unfold is not for you to know. It's not for you to concern yourself with. That is for the universe. And remember that what we are meant to receive, it's always going to be at the moment we're meant to receive it. The universe will always act with our highest interests in mind, even if it may not seem like it at the time. Even when you're thinking, well, you know what, I really just need that money right now, or I really just need that soulmate to show up into my life right now. I don't want to have to wait for another year. I need this right now. But again, like, you might not understand it at the time. It might, waiting for something might feel like the worst thing in the world. But actually, when you look back, it will always serve you. It will always serve you. So this process then of surrendering and letting go, I find for my clients and the students that we work with, this is the hardest thing for them to get their head around. This is something that we do a lot of time, spend a lot of time on, and really kind of dive into at a deeper level, because for most people, they want to, the control part of them, they want to be in control, and they want to move things forwards themselves by doing things and hustling and working harder. And actually that just pushes your desires further away. Now, the final part of this process, the final thing that I really want to share with you guys, and this is something that, again, like everything that I've just spoken about, by the way, like these are the exact things that I've done to help me get to where I am today. And this final thing was a really interesting discovery for me when I started to do this work. And this was really about activating my feminine energy. Now, surrendering and letting go, this is a part of embracing your feminine energy, but it goes a lot deeper than that. We are all made up of energies, both the feminine and the masculine energy. So it's not to say that women only have feminine energy. We all have a presence of both. However, for most women, they rest too much in their masculine energy. And this is especially true when you are coming out of the corporate world. So I found myself a product of the corporate world where it's very much a masculine energy. It's really about getting things done. It's very much, what do I need to do to get from A to B? It's this competitive nature. It's this power hungry nature. It's, competitive in nature. And when we are too much within that masculine energy, we often are out of alignment with how we are meant to be, our authentic selves. And when we're not in alignment with our true self, we are therefore not in alignment with our goals, our desires. So to really allow yourself to manifest your desires with ease and with flow, and for it to feel joyful and it to feel good for you, you have to learn to embrace that feminine energy. There's lots of different ways we can do this. What is that feminine energy? It's creative, it's nurturing, it's going with the flow, it's trusting your intuition, it's honoring your own cycles. This for me, and again, like this will be topic for another episode, honoring my cycle, your monthly cycle, or even the cycle of the moon, if that's something that you prefer to connect with. Nothing in nature blooms all year round, and neither should you. It's one of my favorite phrases that I remind myself of. That masculine energy, it's about doing, and never taking your foot off the pedal. It's like hitting a goal and then it's like, what next? Whereas your feminine energy is much more nurturing. It's about honoring where you are in your cycle, knowing that there is times where you should be resting. So rather than forcing or going against nature, embracing what nature intended. By listening to your body, listening to your own energetic needs, and going with it rather than against it. When you start living your life in that way, I promise you that things will not only manifest a lot quicker, but they will unfold for you in this most magical, beautiful way. Life will start to feel easy. And that's something especially when I first became a business owner, struggled to get my head around. How can life be easy? How can success be easy? It's meant to be hard work. But I promise you, it can feel joyful. It can feel incredibly joyful. And that's really when you learn to embrace your feminine energy, when you allow for that. So that is a very, very broad overview of the things that I have done and the things that I've supported my clients with, of the process that I've used. So get clear on what you want, identify what's keeping you stuck, change those beliefs, identify the new beliefs that you want, and reprogram your mind with a set of beliefs that serve you. change your energy, let go of that negative energy and raise your vibration. Take inspired action. Surrender to the universe and then allow yourself to fully embrace your feminine energy so that you can manifest anything that you want in life with ease and with flow. So I've used this process. I manifested my partner, my current partner that I am now with, who is now the father of my daughter, somebody that I know that I'll spend the rest of my life with. I used this process to call him into my life. I've used it to completely change my financial situation. So my business typically generates now in 1 month way more than what I would ever do in one whole year in my job. I've manifested lots of different types of successes within my business. My programs that I run, the students that we support who are creating success, just seeing them achieve is a huge, huge win for me. Seeing the women that actually come into the program, the connections that I've made, the friendships that I've made, the opportunities that I've had. I've published a book. I've hosted retreats. Again, I am not saying this, you guys, to brag. I'm saying this as an example of what is possible when you go through this process, when you really turn inwards. Honestly, magic is going to happen for you when you really start committing to doing this work. And I want to use this podcast to really go into the steps that I've shared with you today in a lot more detail so that you can start experiencing this for yourself. So I cannot wait to connect with you and to get to know you all better and for you to get to know me better and for me to be able to serve you through these podcast episodes. I can't thank you enough for being here right now listening to this. I'm so happy and grateful for you all. And I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. If you are wanting to build your own successful online coaching business, make sure to check out Freedom, Abundance and Impact, our free 10-day business and mindset course for coaches and aspiring coaches. To access, simply head to wearetheclick.com and click free course in the menu.